when we left that we were leaving some of our brothers and sisters behind, only to lose others when we got home to suicide. So I mean what I say when I share with you that I know that President Trump understands the grave responsibility that a president and commander-in-chief bears for every single one of our lives.
Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's the Distinguished Professor. And again, this is the Distinguished Professor YouTube channel. As you can see from the opening video, we're going to be going over the Tulsi Gabbard speech. It's a couple of videos I really want to show in regards to Tulsi Gabbard. I really like Tulsi. Had she run for president, she would probably have had my vote. So I enjoyed Tulsi. So we're going to dive into a couple of these videos real quick, and then I'll react. But, you know, I'll interject here and there, but for the most part, I'll save my reactions to the end. But before we get started, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you tap that notification bell so you're not tardy to another one of my sessions. And as always, without further ado, class is in session.
And today I'm honored to officially welcome another true American patriot, a 17-year veteran of the Hawaii Army National Guard, a 4-term Democrat congresswoman, very, very popular, the former vice chair of the National Democratic Party and a 2020 Democrat candidate for the United States presidency. You know, she was a very good candidate. Every time she ran, she was good. She did well. She decided to leave. She couldn't take it anymore, but she is very special. And I didn't know this, but she was a lieutenant colonel. That's not bad. Lieutenant colonel. Not bad. I didn't know that. You know, I just found out. I said, put it down. You got to put that down. That's bigger. That's better than all the other stuff I read. But no, she's a special person. She's got great common sense, great spirit. She loves our country, and she loves the people in this room. Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi, please.
And I will say I'm a real big fan of Tulsi. She's one of my favorite candidates, man. You're gonna hear. I mean, Lieutenant Colonel. She served our military. You're gonna hear her speak. You're gonna like it yourself. Here she goes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Aloha. I know we got Hawaii in the house here. There we go. It is a privilege to be here with all of you, my brothers and sisters in uniform, especially on this day of all days. I had the privilege of joining President Trump this morning at Arlington Cemetery, where he joined 2 Gold Star families and loved ones of Staff Sergeant Hoover and Sergeant G, both of whom were 2 of the 13 killed in the Abbey Gate attack 3 years ago today in Kabul.
And just real quick, for those of you guys who are not aware of Abbey Gate, Abbey Gate happened at the airport in Kabul. A lot of, if you remember, there are a lot of Afghanis who were trying to get out of Afghanistan, and the Taliban took over the city. They're trying to get out, things of that sort. So basically, these Marines, these servicemen, there's about 100 of them. So about 100 Afghanis passed away, but it was these servicemen, these 13 service members. What they did was there was a bomb that exploded. But the Marines who passed away took it upon themselves to rescue as many people as possible, even some young Afghani skateboarder kids, skateboarder instructors. I'm sorry. So these Marines gave their lives for people of another country that were being oppressed and suppressed. But that's what Abbey Gate is. Look it up. It's a heartwarming, tragic situation. But I'll let Tulsi continue.
And I can tell you, as we were there, as he laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, joining these Marines' loved ones, I felt the sorrow that he shared with them in their loss. I felt and saw his sincere appreciation for these servicemen and women who paid the ultimate price and their loved ones who continue to grieve to this day. This is personal for me, as I know it is for so many of you here. This is real. It's not just words. I first deployed to Iraq in 2005 with the Hawaii Army National Guard as a member of Charlie Med.
So yeah, unlike the vice president, she actually did the vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz. She actually did deploy. She served her duty and went to deploy. And I don't care what faction of the military you serve in, whether you're a medic or a cook. It does not, or fighting on the front lines. I do not care. You've done things most people have not, and you've been in situations that some people have not. And for her to go serve her country, whether as a med or whatever it was, she served her country. So hats off to her. On more than what I can say for Tim Walz refusing to go to service.
As those of you who were deployed during that time know, it was the height of the war, and sadly, we took many casualties. And every day we were confronted with that high human cost of war and that sadness as we boarded the plane when we left, that we were leaving some of our brothers and sisters behind, only to lose others when we got home to suicide. So I mean what I say when I share with you that I know that President Trump understands the grave responsibility that a president and commander-in-chief bears for every single one of our lives. Whether you're a soldier, you're an airman, a Marine, sailor, or a coastie, he keeps us in his heart in the decisions that he makes. We saw this through his first term in the presidency, when he not only didn't start any new wars, he took action to de-escalate and prevent wars.
No new wars, and made sure he de-escalated wars. That's what he did in his 4 years of term. Unfortunately, that's not what I can say for other presidents. I mean, we're in, like I said, 2 proxy wars now. We just had some stuff pop off in the Middle East. If you don't know, read up on it. But yeah, this man, I hate when people say, "Oh, I don't feel safe with him in office." No wars, and violence was on the decline until 2020 under his presidency. So how do you not feel safe under his presidency? There were no wars and less violence. I don't get it. I don't get it. But continue to Tulsi.
He exercised the courage that we expect from our commander-in-chief in exhausting all measures of diplomacy, having the courage to meet with adversaries, dictators, allies, and partners alike in the pursuit of peace, seeing war as a last resort. The truth is, as we head towards our decision as a country in November, the same cannot be said about Kamala Harris. In fact, the opposite is true, and we're living through this reality today as this administration has us facing multiple wars on multiple fronts and regions around the world, and closer to the brink of nuclear war than we ever have been before. This is one of the main reasons why I'm committed to doing all that I can to send President Trump back to the White House, where he can once again serve us as our commander-in-chief. Because I am confident that his first task will be to do the work to walk us back from the brink of war. We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace. And we can't live free as long as we have a government that is retaliating against its political opponents and undermining our civil liberties, weaponizing our very institutions against those they deem as a threat. Kamala Harris has done this over the last 3.5 years. She won't hesitate to continue that if she is elected as president. President Trump has been their first and foremost target in this because they don't want us as voters to even have the option to vote for him. I've been their most recent target, added to a secret domestic terror watch list after exposing the truth about what kind of dangers we would face if Kamala Harris is elected as president. We as Americans must stand together to reject this anti-freedom culture of political retaliation and abuse of power. We can't allow our country to be destroyed by politicians who will put their own power ahead of the interests of the American people, our freedom, and our future. I am proud to stand here before you today, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. If you love our country, as I do, if you cherish peace and freedom as we do, I invite you to join me in doing all that we can to save our country and elect President Donald J. Trump and send him back to the White House to do the tough work of saving our country and serving the people. Thank you very much.
So as you can see from her speech, you can see why I enjoy her, why I like her. She's very well spoken. She also loves the country like I do. So her and Trump are going to be a match made in heaven. I'm glad that she's going to be there to help Trump prepare for the debate, if they ever get to a debate. I know there's a microphone situation. I think Kamala's doing whatever she can to keep from having to debate this man, because she can't speak outside of the talking points that are on the cue cards or the teleprompter that she has. So if Trump goes off script, she is screwed. But I want to show one more video with Tulsi Gabbard. This is just in regards to her joining Trump's organization. So I'm going to pull that up real quick, and then we'll take a look at that, and then we'll get out of here.
RFK Jr., now part of the transition team. What does it mean, Tulsi? I'm not saying you have to define your role, but I'm thinking, what does it mean for two independents to join the Trump transition team?
Well, I think it speaks to the bigger point about what President Trump is doing here. He is showing that this election is not about Democrats versus Republicans. It's about voters having the choice between a president in Donald Trump, who stands for freedom and peace and prosperity for all Americans, versus Kamala Harris, who is a person who will certainly bring about an increasingly tyrannical government, more war, and economic hardship, the same economic hardship we've seen over the last 3.5 years. And it's not about taking my word for it or an opinion or a view. Both of these candidates, President Trump and Vice President Harris, have two very real records to compare and contrast. And boy, they couldn't be different. This is the choice before voters. Rise above partisanship. President Trump is showing that he can bring people together who may not agree on every issue, but who value what is most important, which is protecting and defending our fundamental rights and freedoms that are enshrined in the Constitution, and making it possible to live in a truly peaceful and prosperous society.
It's interesting when you talk about Kamala Harris's record, because there's word now that you could be helping the former president with debate preparations. Of course, it's very well established that you pretty efficiently took down Kamala Harris in 2019. Is that something that you relish, the opportunity to be able to help in that aspect?
Well, I want to be helpful in whatever way that I possibly can. And if I can be helpful to President Trump at all in this area, it really is just to share the experience that I had and what I learned in sharing that stage with Kamala Harris back in 2019. And quite frankly, the kinds of tricks that she will play in order to deflect away from her record, which voters need to know about. And the mainstream media, the propaganda media, is trying to cover up. She will rehearse some lines and deliver them very well. President Trump knows the issues, and he knows her record, and I look forward to seeing him challenge her and expose the truth about who Kamala Harris really is.
I wanted to get your take on a couple of hot issues. One, this Mark Zuckerberg letter where he comes out saying, listen, admitting that the Biden-Harris administration pressured them during COVID-19 to censor, and he used the word censor COVID-19 content, said the laptop was not disinformation. What do you think of that admission?
And before she even responds, again, this is my first time watching this, but before she even responds, first, Trump is very bipartisan. He took RFK Jr., who they have varying views. Tulsi Gabbard has varying views. JD Vance has varying views. None of them 100% or even maybe 90% agree with what he's talking about. What they're doing is they're on board with the fact that he cares about the United States of America. He cares about this country. And one thing I've always said about great CEOs, no matter what you say about Trump, one thing about great CEOs is they put people, and even coaches, they put people around them that are smarter than they are so that they can take the opinions of those people and make an even more informed decision. Because at the end of the day, CEOs, coaches, they may have something in their head, but when they have someone that's smarter than they are, that's in the room, that can have the conversations, they can speak to certain things, give them the pros and cons, play devil's advocate. Those are the ones you want in the room. Not the people, not the yes men, things of that sort. So the fact that he was able to get Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. on board with what he's looking at on his vision, include even JD Vance on his vision on what he wants for this country and the vision he sees for this country, those are major wins. Now, outside of that, you just now heard Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, saying that the Biden-Harris administration asked us to censor doing C-19. So now all this fact checking and all this other BS that was going on, because you're starting to see all the stuff coming out that people said conspiracy theorists had to say that's coming out as truth. I said doing C-19, I'll say it to this day. What's the difference between conspiracy theory and the truth? 3 months. Well, in this case, 3 years. So now you're saying that Facebook had to censor based upon the pressure they were getting from the White House. So when I say to you guys what Kamala Harris is, when I talk about socialism, when I talk about communism, when I talk about her dad being a Marxist, you have pressure from the White House to censor your First Amendment right. They want to control your housing. They want to stay in your housing. So what's that going to do to you? That's going to prevent you from getting the housing that you want. It's going to keep you stuck in housing that you don't want to be in. It's going to lead to dilapidated housing and unfit housing conditions. They want to control the price of bread, the price of food in your supermarket. So now what are you going to have? Bread lines. I showed you the video before about Venezuela, how it was one of the most prosperous countries in Latin America, if not the richest country in Latin America. And now look at it. It's in shambles. You keep going for the identity politics if you want to, because she's a black woman, because she's an AKA, because she went to Howard, because she's a woman, because she's about letting you delete kids. Y'all keep going with the identity politics if you want to. Keep going with it. And you're going to see where this country is going to go to. Mark Zuckerberg says she censored the White House pressure to censor. That is absolutely ridiculous. That's something that happens in, I would expect, in North Korea or China or communist Russia, not in the United States of America, not in these United States of America. You want 4 more years of that, 8 more years of that, and if Walls gets in another 12 to 16 years, that's what you want? Is that what you want? But let her continue.
It's coming. Well, first of all, it is what many of us have known all along, and I'm glad he had the courage to come forward and speak the truth, especially right now. And this is really important, Trace, because you have Kamala Harris, who's
the temerity, the unmitigated gall.
She's building her whole campaign around freedom. This is her new mantra that she's repeating. She repeated it in her debate, in her speech at the Democratic Convention, that she's going to be a president who champions freedom. But the fact is, as Mark Zuckerberg just exposed, it is Harris and Joe Biden who got him and Facebook to do their dirty work in censoring our right to free speech. Once again, her words do not match her actions. So we got to turn down the volume on whatever it is she's saying and just look at her record, because that tells us the whole story about why we should not allow her in the White House as our president.
Tulsi Gabbard, it's great to have you on the show as always.
Thanks,
Best
Chris.
of luck to you, and thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, there you go. There you have it. I mean, Tulsi said everything that needed to be said, and like I said, I'm just so glad she's on the Trump side. But I'm gonna end the video here. I want to thank you guys for watching. Class is dismissed. Hey, the Distinguished Professor here. Make sure you click here to the Distinguished Professor YouTube channel. Follow our hard-hitting panel talk, our hottest reaction videos, and compelling analysis on modern dating. You will not find this information anywhere else.